Israel, Israel this. Then all of a sudden he switches it up, and now it's given to the Gentiles? Because you don't have any understanding.
And in Romans the 9th chapter, as you read down towards the 24th verse, it explains to you that those people are Israelites. Those Gentiles he was talking about were Israelites. You know?
It's one big letter.
Yeah, yep, it's one big letter, yep. Back in Romans 11 and 14. If by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh, and might save some of them. For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead? For if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy. And if the root be holy, so are the branches. Salakia. And if some of the branches be broken off, and thou being a wild olive tree were grafted in among them, and with them partakers.
The wild olive tree, that's in Jeremiah. The wild olive tree is talking about Israelites that fell off and didn't circumcise their children, so they were wild. Because the olive tree represents Israel. All right? Yeah, give me that.
This is Jeremiah chapter 2 verse 21. Yet I had planted thee a noble vine, wholly a right seed. How then art thou turned into the degenerate plant of a strange vine unto me?
Yeah, so you became strangers. That's why Peter referred to you Israelites as strangers. Let's go. Where you at? Go ahead.
Jeremiah 11 and 16. The Lord called thy name a green olive tree, fair and of goodly fruit. With the noise of a great tumult he hath kindled fire upon it, and the branches of it are broken off. For the Lord of hosts that planted thee hath pronounced evil against thee, for the evil of the house of Israel and of the house of Judah, which they have done against themselves to provoke me to anger in offering incense unto Baal.
Yeah, so you became a wild olive branch. So that's what Paul is talking about. All right, go ahead.
Romans 11:17. And if some of the branches be broken off,
Some of the branches that were broken off were these Jews that knew that they were Jews that didn't accept the Messiah. They were broken off. They didn't get this mystery, this riches. Go ahead.
And thou being a wild olive tree,
These Israelites that the elder just read in the book of Jeremiah, go ahead,
were grafted in among them, and with them partakers of the root and fatness of the olive tree.
Why are they partakers of the root and fatness of the olive tree? Because they're originally a part of that tree. They're part of the same stock. Go ahead.
Boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee. Thou wilt say then, the branches were broken off that I might be grafted in. Well, because of unbelief they were broken off. And thou standest by faith. Be not high-minded, but fear. For if the Most High spared not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not thee. Behold, therefore, the goodness and severity of the Most High. On them which fell, severity, but toward thee, goodness, if thou continue in his goodness. Otherwise thou also shalt be cut off. And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in. For the Most High is able to graft them in again. For if thou wert cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these, which be the natural branches, be grafted into their own olive tree? For
natural branches, meaning they kept the laws, statutes, commandments, high holy days. That's why Paul said what he said in Colossians, the 2nd chapter, and the starting from the 16th verse. Let's go to that. Because when you had Israelites that were in a Gentile state of mind, you didn't say, okay, you accepted the fact that you're an Israelite, that your line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now you got to keep the laws, statutes, and commandments perfectly. You got to keep the Sabbath. You got to keep the high holy days. No, Paul didn't say that. He said, understand the Messiah right now. Understand this truth. And that's the first part of it. Go ahead.
Colossians chapter 2 verse 16. Let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink or in respect of an holy day.
Because you Gentiles, case in point, Cornelius, he was the first of the Gentiles to be accepted in, and had opened the door for other Gentiles, meaning Israelite foreigners. So when you came in, Paul is saying, look, don't let them Jews tell you got to keep this perfectly, and you got to wear the fringes this way, and you got to keep the Passover. The Passover's coming up, and you got to get circumcised. No, don't worry about that right now. Just get the knowledge. And then as you get rooted and grounded, then you can start wearing the garments. You can keep the high holy days and so forth. It's a step-by-step process. Go ahead.
It says, let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink or in respect of an holy day or of the new moon or of the Sabbath days, which are a shadow of things to come.
What do you mean when he said which are a shadow of things to come? In the kingdom, we're going to keep it perfectly. Go ahead.
But the body is of Yahushai. Let no man beguile you of your reward in a voluntary humility and worshiping of angels, intruding into those things which he hath not seen, vainly puffed up by his fleshly mind.
Yeah, because that worshiping of angels, that's not scriptural. And you got cats out there that do that. Praying to the name of the Lord, the Lord's Son, Yahushai, and the angels, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael. We're not supposed to be praying to the angels. Go ahead.
This is back in Romans 11 and 24. For if thou wert cut off of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and were grafted contrary to nature into...
Didn't the Lord get on Israel in the book of Jeremiah? How they became a wild olive branch and cast them in the fire? Broke off the branches and cast them in the fire? Go ahead.
And were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these which be the natural branches be grafted into their own olive tree? This is the same thing as the circumcision and the uncircumcision. But a different analogy. It says, for I would not, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery.
Right. A lot of you are ignorant of this mystery. That's why you got guys that are going around saying that Cornelius is an Edomite. Because you don't have the truth. Go ahead.
It says, least you should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part has happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. Until
the fulfillment of the Gentiles, Israelite foreigners, all get this. Right. So now, at this time, this day that we're in, this is the fulfillment of it, man. That's why you have Ephraimites, you have Issacharites, in the western camps in the Midwest. You have Gadites, you have Issacharites, you have Reubenites, as well as the Judites, Benjamites, and Levites. Go ahead.
And so all Israel shall be saved.
What does it mean by the all Israel? The Gentiles, the wild olive branch, all right, the lump, the root, all together, all Israel going to be saved. Whether you knew that you were Israelites, your parents were Israelites, or whether you didn't know that you were Israelites and you went around thinking that you were Elamite or a Greek. Let's go from there to the book of First Maccabees, because I want to show you when this really started happening. First Maccabees, the first chapter, the 11th verse to the 15th verse, and let's try to read through these quick. First Maccabees, the first chapter, the 11th verse to the 15th verse.
First Maccabees chapter 1 verse 11. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us.
That's where it began. So you had a lot of Israelites following them, and basically when they had children, they refused to circumcise their children. They refused to give their children